Welcome ladies and gentlemen, my name's Dychronic, your host here on this Payday 3 video, and today we're going to rank all of the different base game Payday 3 weapons on a tier list, talking about the reasons why they're good based on their stats, their damage, their ammo pickup, and most importantly, what role they play in the game relative to other options, because if certain things just do what it does better, gonna rank worse or better. And of course, this is based on my opinion. Obviously, you're gonna use these weapons a little differently, and if you think there's something I made a mistake on, let me know in the comments down below so I can correct it and actually play with it. And something I want to say right before I get into it is that this game is based almost entirely on headshots. So if a weapon is bad at getting headshots, whether they have a really high fire rate or they just have really low damage, it's probably gonna affect it pretty heavily. So the TLDRs, assault rifles, and single shot headshot weapons are really good, and everything else just kind of falls behind it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First up, we have the Model 11, I think known as the M1911 in real life, and I actually really like this pistol. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in B tier. It's kind of a middle zone between the Signature 40 and the Bison, and just being like a little bit more damage, but not too much more damage that it sacrifices mag. You can go for headshots, but with an extended mag, you can kind of spam out on it. It's a really good feeling sidearm. It's honestly a great default option for a sidearm that fits a lot of builds. Following that, probably one of the worst weapons in the game, total hot trash. Actually, let's just do that right now. Total hot trash, we have the Ziv Commando. Probably one of the worst, if not the worst weapons in the game. And honestly, part of it is its fault. The other part is not its fault. First of all, it is a higher fire rate SMG with a smaller magazine at 25 and much more recoil and less accuracy, which, as we mentioned prior, headshots are everything. So if you cannot get headshots no matter what weapon you're using, you're gonna perform worst in this game. So TLDR does really low damage, it's very inaccurate, has a smaller mag at 25 compared to the other SMGs. I don't know why, but it does. And you need to get headshots to get kills. This honestly should just be a sidearm, and even if it was, I still wouldn't use it. After that, let's talk about the SCARH 4. Which I'm assuming is an M4A1 in real life. And honestly, this weapon absolutely slaps. And even though you do get it at literally level 1 when you start the game, it's got great range, great damage, good accuracy and recoil patterns, decent ammo economy, which you don't know how much ammo you pick up off of corpses is different per weapon, and that's very important, and it just fills a lot of those right in the middle, making it a very comfortable weapon to use in pretty much everything. And even though you get it at level 1, do not undervalue it. It is a fantastic weapon. After that, we have the KU something, otherwise known as the AK-47. And honestly, I do like the AK-47 a little bit better than the SCARH 4, but both of which are just absolute A-tier weapons. The AK-47 has a little bit more recoil, a little bit more damage, which makes it a little bit more optimal with the shots to kill, but a little bit worse on the ammo economy. Even though it has the same mag size, same reserves, the ammo pickup is a little bit worse. And so if you're gonna use the AK-47, pair it up with a very ammo efficient secondary, like the M1911 or the Strike 7. After that, we have the two revolvers in the game, the Castigo and the Bison, and I'm gonna kind of consider them essentially the same, even though the Castigo has a little bit more damage and less fire rate. They both have plenty of fire rate that you're gonna need them for, and the most important thing is that you can one-shot, headshot, heavy swats in the head with a couple of different damage perks, which makes them incredibly useful. And even though they only have 6 in a cylinder, they can also get the ammo funnel replenish thing where they get up to 2 ammo back into their cylinder from getting a single kill, which I'll remind you, they can one-shot headshot, so getting 2 bullets makes them positive on ammo. And for that reason, I believe they're solidly in the S tier. They literally solve bad loadouts. So if you're gonna use a bad weapon, like the Ziv Commando, pair it up with one of these weapons and they will save you in a pinch. On top of also being much higher range, making them decent for snipers as well, and more accurate for handling enemy shields through their visor. They're excellent secondary weapons. Again, as long as you get those damage bonuses like Edge and a couple of the Enforcer ones, you can one-shot headshot for pretty long ranges, and it's so good. Following that, we have the SAA-114, which is essentially the M14 EBR. In my opinion, one of, if not the best weapon in the entire game. This thing is a monster. Firstly, because it one-shot headshots heavy swats in the game, which is a standard for how a weapon does. And with that, it's obviously a DMR single fire, meaning it's rather efficient on ammo. You can go pretty positive with this weapon. It's decent in the hip fire, although the iron sights, like pretty much all the iron sights of guns in this game, are hot trash, so it gets to level 4 to get that red dot as soon as possible. And it has 12 to 20 in the magazine, depending on a normal or extended mag. And if you also have ammo funnel and replenish, you're essentially gonna have like 30 in the mag before you have to reload. The reload is not really that bad. I'd say the only downside of this weapon is it's not really good when you're moving and hip firing, which is obviously something that single fires wouldn't be good at. That's more of an SMG and a shotgun. Following that, we have the Rheinfeld 900 100S, otherwise known as the only sniper in the game if you don't count the DMR, and this one is again total hot trash. Some people kind of like this weapon, but most people can agree it's just worse than a lot of other options in the game because in my opinion, it fills no roles well at all. If you've never used it, it is a bolt action sniper, which means if you're aiming down sights and you fire, it unaims you, you have to bolt the slide back, it has only 5 in a magazine, and it doesn't one-shot, body shot, light swats, which maybe is too much to ask for, but if it takes a headshot to kill light SWAT, the EBR is better in every way. It's also not good at armor penetration because it doesn't one-shot headshots shields through their visor without a bunch of damage perks. The EBR also 2 shots through the visor. And most importantly, it's not good against dozers. I remember shooting 10 shots directly in the face of a dozer with this weapon and it didn't kill it. There's some weapons in this game that can do it in 1 to 2 clips. The only thing this is good against is enemy sniper. And you can just put a long range sight on an EBR or use a pistol. It's not that hard. The sniper needs a lot of love. It's hot trash. Following that, we have the Reinfeld 880. Totally not a very similar name, and this weapon is so bad. Honestly, it's contender for one of the worst weapons in the game. And there are some people that do like this weapon, but let me explain why I think this is so bad. Again, relating it to the EBR, this weapon needs a headshot to one-shot light swats. Even with all the damage perks, it doesn't one-shot body shot, which again, headshots are so important. If you have a single-shot pump-action weapon that one-shots to the head, and then you have a semi-auto, much longer range option in the form of the EBR, why would you use the shotgun? On top of that, you have to load 1 shell at a time. That's really slow, and even with ammo funnel and replenish, you're getting less slugs per kill, and you still have to reload between because you're never going to be getting guaranteed one-shot headshots every time. And maybe it's just because I'm bad and I miss, but hopefully you can see why the EBR is just better in every way. In my opinion, what it needs, just like a lot of the other faster fire rate and closer range weapons, is it needs to do a lot more body shot damage. I should be able to just go right up to a light SWAT, 1 shot into the body and kill him. I don't know why we can't. And furthermore, it's terrible against specials. The enemy shields, it's terrible at breaking that shield and then killing the shield. It's terrible against dozers. I honestly would just rather use my sidearm for them. Following that, we have the other shotgun in the game, and honestly, this one's a lot better. I've put this one in B tier for a couple of reasons. First of all, it has the same problem as the other one, is it doesn't one-shot to the body. Even though it does more damage, it doesn't one-shot to the body, so you have to get headshots. But there's a couple things that are very redeeming about this. First of all, it reloads very quickly, much quicker than the Reinfeld. Even though it has only 2 in the tubes, it technically has 42 if you have ammo funnel and replenish. If you get a kill with the weapon, it puts one back in the tube and you can keep firing, allowing it to be not a double barrel, but a 42 barrel. But again, same problem as the other shotgun is that if it one-shots to the head but not to the body, the EBR is just better than it. And again, it's bad against shield and it's bad against dozers. It's just a kind of fun weapon that's good to blind fire and move around with. But there are other weapons that do that too. Following that, we have the Strike 7, which I believe is a Glock 19, if I remember correctly. And I really like this weapon. I'm putting this one in B tier. This is a fantastic weapon to just absolutely spam the trigger out of because you can get it to a 32 round magazine. So if you hate the idea of everything being really strictly based on headshots, this weapon is great to just be like, pull out in a pinch and just spam the crap out of and stagger all the enemies in front of you. And it's so much fun, especially with ammo funnel and replenish. It's not 32, it's more like 50 before you have to reload. Following that, we have the Compact 7, otherwise known as the MP7 in real life. And this weapon actually feels pretty good. I'm gonna put this one as a high B tier. And even though it has the same damage as the Ziv Commando, it has a larger magazine of 30 rather than 25. It is much more accurate and more stable and better recoil pattern. And even though it doesn't have as much fire rate, which again, doesn't really matter in this game, it's much more controllable and feels much better to use. So it's just a better SMG. The Ziv, take notes. However, still pales in comparison to these single shot headshot options and assault rifles just because it doesn't reach out to a lot of range and it's more faster fire rate thing. Following that, we have the Northwest B9. In my opinion, the only assault rifle that belongs in B tier. In my opinion, it's on a class of its own from the other ones because it's faster fire rate and less damage. So if you're gonna use the Northwest B9, think of it more as like a submachine gun. It's not really great at close range, it's not good at long range, it's somewhere hybrid in the middle, and it does nothing really that well. I genuinely, when I read the flavor text for this, the fact that it says it's a burst fire weapon, I thought it was going to be a 3-burst weapon, which I think would have been a much better option. And following that, we have, I don't remember the name of this in the game, but we have the SCARH, and I freaking love this weapon. In my opinion, it is the #1 weapon in this game, even more than the EBR, although for a lot of people that could be exchanged. Now let me explain why. First of all, it has a 20 round magazine, which many people might snuff at and be like, only 20, that's kind of scary, that's a compact mag. But this weapon fires pretty slowly and one-shot headshots heavy swats, just like the EBR, the Castigo, and the Bison, but it's in an automatic form. I like to compare this like somewhere between an AK and an EBR, having somewhat of this kind of in-between mag, in-between damage, but still one-shot headshots, and it feels really good to use, especially if you get a kind of clue around the recoil pattern and you only go for single shot or two shot kind of shots, you're gonna do really well with this weapon and even go positive if you're really accurate. And furthermore, it's also really good against shields because you're gonna be single firing through the gap, and really good against dozers. I think you can kill a dozer with this weapon in like 20 shots in one clip or a little bit more than that. It's really good across the entire board. The only problem is you have to get to level 77 to use it. After that, we have the Signature 40, which is the sidearm you start the game with, and this weapon is extremely meh. It doesn't do anything really that well. It has kind of below average damage, below average magazine size, very averaging stats pretty much across the board. It's a sidearm of all time. There's not really anything noteworthy other than that you can get challenges with it, and you can have a silencer and an extended mag, and not really much more than that. And with that, the Signature 403, which really creative name, Signature 40 and the Signature 403, is kind of pretty much the same. It's very similar magazines, similar damage, and you use it pretty much the same. It may be better, maybe worse, doesn't really matter to me. They're both very meh weapons. But they can have a silencer on them. But so can these other two pistols, which just feel better. And finally, we have the FIC PC9, which I'm going to put right here at the top of B tier for a couple of reasons. First of all, this is one of the fan favorite weapons. Everyone really likes this. I think it's based on an MPX in real life. It's extremely controllable, especially with hipfire. You can literally move and hipfire really accurately with this thing, and it's very stable. And it feels like one of the best SMGs in the game, if not the best SMG in the game, with a little bit more damage, a little bit less fire rate, a lot more control, and it's just a great weapon. But when I start using this weapon and then I switch over to one of these ones over here, like the AK or the CAR, I just realized night and day that the AK and the CAR are just on a tier of its own, which is why I'm not putting it in the A tier, because these just feel strictly better in a lot of ways. So TLDR, the best SMG in the game, really close to being on A tier and really controllable, but just not enough damage to hang with these guys, and suffers from the same thing with all those other high fire rate weapons, as they don't do enough body shot damage. And there you have it. That is my tier list, and those are the reasons why I've picked these options. And frankly, you can use whatever weapons you want. Anything that's B tier and up, I think, are going to be decent options for you. You're going to have fun with, but I would honestly stick to these S and A tiers when it comes to overkill difficulty. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name's Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.